Today we were going to be turning this lampshade into a planter for a large faux plant that I bought at Goodwill. I had just set the plant down into it, but previously I got this from the thrift store as well. But I used these for two large lamps that I had, and I painted the outside black. It came out looking kind of like suede. And then I painted the inside this copper color. I ended up switching my living room around and doing something different. So I had actually thrown the other lampshade away, and I don't know why I kept this for some reason, but I was just looking at the bottom of the plant that I bought and thought, oh, upside down, that would be a great planter. And I was just gonna put some moss in there to kind of hide the fact that it was a lampshade. Kept it like that for a while, but actually I want to turn this into something that looks like cement or concrete. So we're gonna try this out. I'm not sure how it's gonna work. So let's get started. As you can see, there's a large gap between the actual plant and the lampshade. So later I will need to fill that with newspaper or something. Also, the plant sits a little lopsided, so I do need to level out the bottom. You'll see me do that a little bit later. Here's a close-up of the lampshade. That metal part I was not able to cut off. So first I'm tracing the inside onto some foam board, and I'll cut that out for the inside portion of the lampshade in order to level out the where it touches that metal part of the lampshade. You'll see what I'm talking about a little bit later. I then took the lampshade again and traced the outside, and the larger circle will be for the base of the planter. I'm going to be adding some of this tape to the shade just to, in hopes of keeping the concrete from slipping off. If this doesn't stay, I'm just gonna have to take this off, but we're gonna try adding this to the shade just to add a little bit of area for the concrete to grab onto. It's not very sticky. I've had it for a long time. I'm not sure if it's just this one strip or if the whole thing is like this. I'd hate to put all of this on there and it still slips off, so we'll see. I think this is normally used for drywall. It may be a waste of time to try to go all the way around just to have it fall off. Worst comes to worst, I paid like $1.99 for the shade, and we'll just learn what not to do today. My thought is when I put the cement on there, concrete on there, it'll actually flatten it and lay it down and then still attach. So now I'm going to leave this side like that, and then I'm going to go ahead and start the mixture and see how some of it sticks to like the section without this stuff, and then see how it sticks to the section with this stuff before I continue, just to see if it's worth continuing. I'm gonna pause on this part and mix a little bit of the Quikrete. So I have a little tiny bit of the Quikrete, and I'm gonna just mix up sort of to like a peanut butter consistency. Sort of like how I cook. I don't measure anything, so I don't know what the ratio would be. You just mix it until you get the consistency that is thick enough to stick onto the object, but not too watery, especially with the material of this lampshade. I don't want it to be too watery to where it's like just soaking through the material. So there's that. I'm going to see how this sticks. Let's try to lay this down. I do want to make sure that the thickness is the same all the way around. I don't like this batch of Quikrete that I got. I used to buy this all the time for other projects, and I don't know what changed or if I got the wrong one, but it has all these rocks in it. I don't really care for that. Of course, this wants to roll. So I don't think the tape will make a big difference. I'm not going to remove it just because I want to see how it dries. I'm just going over it with a spatula to kind of make sure that there's flat, just like to flatten out the layer so that there aren't big rocks poking through. So that's going on satisfactorily. Anyway, it's going on nicely. So I am going to make a bigger batch and continue to cover the top of this area. I'm hoping that it doesn't like dent in or push this down to make this kind of lopsided. We'll see. It's all an experiment. If this does go well, I can have other smaller lampshades that I can also do this too. So let me make more. So this is the consistency of the concrete that I mixed up. Just a little bit. It's probably a little too much for this part of it. I'm gonna start adding this to this whole section. I'm going to make sure that I get it all the way to the edge. And I'm using something at the bottom to keep it from rolling because it's trying to tip over, of course. I want to just get these edges here cleaned up because this will be the top of the planter, and I want to make sure that there's an even coating there. So I'm going to kind of just overfill it. I should be wearing gloves, I know. This is what it looks like. Partially covered. I will go back and fill in little holes like that with some of the thinner parts of it. But I'm going to give this a few hours to dry and then flip it and start on the other section. I'll probably have to work, you know, turn it and do another quarter and then turn it and do another quarter. And then I have the tape down here holding it, so because it's trying to roll. We'll be back. So this is what it looks like with one part completely dry and then the wet application that I just put on. I did do this part last night because the larger part that I had done earlier that day took longer than I thought to dry. So last night I put this little patch here just before I went to bed. Hopefully those dry seamlessly. We'll see. It says it takes about 4 hours. So I am thoroughly convinced now that I did buy the wrong concrete mix, especially because these rocks are driving me crazy. But so far so good. It hasn't collapsed or like sunken in. I was scared that the inside would sink in with the weight of the concrete, but it's looking good so far. Okay, so this took a lot longer than I thought. It's been a couple days. If there was anything that I would have done differently, I would have sifted all of these rocks out of the mixture. Also, I don't know why, I thought there would have been a little more color variation. It's turning out to be like just a gray blob. So I'll need to go in and paint or do a coffee ground method, I don't know, just to give it some depth and color. So far this hasn't sunken in, or I haven't had any issues with the connections. So I'm going to try and do this whole last part. I went ahead and added more of this. It's actually for patching holes. It doesn't hurt to have it underneath here. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that on there and finish hopefully this span, and we'll see how it turns out before I do anything else to it. Look at all those rocks. I mean, that's ridiculous. Still, I don't like even the smaller pieces that are in there, but I'll have to work with that. Okay, there comes a time in a project where you just need to leave it alone before you make it worse. So I'm going to leave this alone, the little bit that I did touch up on the top, and let it dry, and then I'm going to work on the bottom, the inside, and then see how I want to paint it or give it a little more color. So I did have to cut little pieces of foam board to build up the bottom portion in order to make it level. The metal part I could not cut off, so I just stacked, I think, like 4 pieces and glued them to the bottom before I added the last layer right on top, and I super glued that as well. As you can see, it's still a little lopsided, so I did add one more piece of foam board onto each stack, which made about 4, and then it sat on top level enough for me to put the top portion on and sit the plant inside. So the Dollar Tree did not have any more of the loose moss that I usually buy in the bag, so I bought this sheet from Walmart. I really didn't care for it, but it's okay for now. I just cut the size that I needed to go around the top of the plant. Okay, so we are at the point where it's gonna look like it's looking, because I am so done with this DIY. Oh my gosh. It took 4 days to get to this point. It's in the top. I bought the wrong moss. I got the wrong concrete. Hopefully, by watching this video, you guys can do it a little better than I can, but you get the picture of what I was going for. I do still want to put some more color into it, just because it's like a flat gray color all the way around. It's almost the way that I want it. I just wanted to go ahead and get this video up, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please remember to like and share and subscribe, and let me know if you do try it, if you come up with a better way. I could have used I think that wall putty stuff or something else besides heavy concrete or whatever, but that's what I had on hand. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.